So what we're going to do, welcome everyone. What we're going to do today, we're going to learn a little bit about what is the kind of the easiest way to get into 3D modeling and 3D design. Kyle is going to take us really through the practical side of what can be achieved from really not knowing anything, not being an engineer, but really being super keen to get involved. Either, you know, from a DIY point of view, I want to be at home and I want to fix something in my house, and now is the perfect opportunity because of COVID, so we can start doing that at home. Or, you know, just because we love design and we want to, you know, I know a lot of people want to start designing their own things for the beauty of it. You know, I know also of kids who want to know how to design and learn design so that they can make their own things at home and then sell it to their friends at school and make money. And it's, you know, we had the discussion with Kyle how these kind of opportunities are really exciting because today it's so hard to learn about entrepreneurship, right? It's like beside baking maybe a couple of cookies and and selling it at school. You know, it's not like back in the day where it used to be, where, you know, we could just do things. And now I think because of 3D printing, it offers again that, hey, I can do things and I can sell it and I can make money and people love what I do. And that I guess gets kids even more excited about business and what the opportunities exist and, you know, solving problems. So I'm really excited about this journey, and thanks everyone for joining us today. As I said, I'm going to get Kyle involved. There are a few things behind me. Just if you're wondering, we have an industrial grade 3D printer, which is the Guida 2. I love that one. It's kind of my go-to printer, and it can print some awesome stuff. I mean, we printed the other day. I always say, like, you have to print Darth Vader. Like, it's just, it's always Darth Vader somewhere. So we printed Darth the other day in carbon fiber on the Guida 2. And then it's the funny part about it is that when you compare it, it's not just the size. When you compare it to the classic PLA, it's kind of face in the background. And I got my my husband, he needed a stand for his headset, and the famous headset.
This is such a cool headset, honestly.
But it's such a cool headset, right?
Yeah.
But now, Kyle, I'm sorry, but exactly as my husband pointed out, he said, Petra, I can't have it next to the carbon fiber one. You have to print it in carbon fiber.
I agree.
But anyway, so Kyle, I'll let you now take us through that. And please, if I can just ask maybe everyone to mute yourself for now, and just keep your questions for a little bit for later. But Kyle is going to make it short and sweet so that we have lots of time for questions and answers, essentially. Cool. Yeah. Thanks so much. Go.
Cool. Should I share my screen? I need you to allow me to share my screen as well, sorry. Please.
Good help.
I'll take you through some of the prints I've done that aren't necessarily just straight plug and print. I want to show you this firstly. So this is a full-sized human skull. It was printed on one of my custom printers with a massive nozzle just to save some time, because I think this was around 20 hours. But what's great is my girlfriend, the idea of printing many of these was just not feasible because of the time. So she actually made this one. We did have a power outage, so we had to reslice to glue it together. But she made this so that she could use it as a mold, and she paper machéed over it and has just been replicating a whole bunch of these skulls, which instead of taking 20 hours now take 3 hours. So I must say, like, it's a great way to think about things. It's not just, you don't just have to print something. Something else we also printed was a mold. So this was made up of 2 halves and a lid, so 3. And you're able to screw them together. And once we had poured concrete in it, we got a really cool little skull planter, which is now watertight. We haven't planted anything in it yet, but yeah, I must say, like, it is quite cool. I still don't have host. You still going to give me the ability to share?
I'm sorry, I just didn't want to do it before you were having
no, cool.
on there. Just try for me now.
Still not.
No. Okay, 1 second. This is going to be exciting. Sorry about that.
That's no problem.
There we go. Okay. Can you try?
Yeah, it looks like it's allowing me now. Okay, so I think everyone can see the screen. I don't know if you can just confirm for me, Petra.
Yep.
Okay, so what my go-to is Sketchup Free. It really is super simple. They've dumbed down the tools to very, very entry level. So what you're just going to do is you're just going to click on the link and hit start sharing. Sketchup will load.
And maybe, sorry, I'm just going to jump in now, Kyle, just to ask you while it's loading. Why did you go with SketchUp and not, for example, the other option? So maybe if you can just quickly like take us through, you know, I know that a lot of, especially schools and, you know, people at home kind of know the Tinkercad route. Yeah. I know for the smaller kids, we're also using Happy 3D, using just with their fingers. But yeah, why this one?
Yeah, so obviously with my profession, we started in AutoCAD, SketchUp, and Revit. So I mean, starting here, it was easy for when I got a 3D printer just to jump right back in and continue from what I knew. So that was the whole reason. OpenSCAD is very good. It's just very intimidating at first because when it opens and you see your model, it's like a lot of code and you don't really know how to draw with it at first. So we'll skip OpenSCAD for a while, but we will get to it. But yeah, it's SketchUp's free, and it really is super simple. So that's why I use it. And obviously, with working on it for so long, I figured out pretty much how to manipulate it to get to do exactly what I needed to do. All right, so once you've clicked on SketchUp, you should get a screen that looks like this. The left-hand side is all your drawing tools, and on the right-hand side, you have your display tools. So usually the first thing I do is I like to go and change on this tool at the bottom here for model info is to change the format to millimeters because that's how we draw. And then you can decide on the precision below that. So you can select however many decimals you want it to snap to. I usually just do to 2 decimal places, and then you change the snapping to 0.1. That's pretty much where you should start every time. Otherwise, you are going to draw in inches, and you can end up with a model that's too big or too difficult to import into FlashForge, and then you're going to end up having to scale it down there. So it's a good place to start. What I want to take us through today is I want to make or show you how to make something like this. It's just a super simple name tag that you can chuck on your key rings. I know my little brother has printed, I don't know, about 30 of these already. And same thing, I got him using SketchUp, and it was like a half an hour, and he sent me a picture of his print. So super simple. Usually what I like to do is delete out the lady because we don't need her. I'll just take you through some of the tools on the left. We have Select, which is just selecting your model, Erase, a paint bucket that allows you to paint them. And they all have these little drop downs too. So if you have painted something in a specific color, you can go and sample it again later if you want to reapply that color. We've got a pencil, which allows us to draw very simple straight lines. We have a freehand tool, which is a little bit trickier to draw with, but it is still possible. We have like these are all arc tools for making circles and half moons and whatnot. Rectangle tools, rotated rectangles, circles, hexagons, polygons, 3D text. We've got the push-pull tool. This is a follow me tool and an offset tool. So how SketchUp works is it relies very much on drawing in 2D and then using the push-pull tool to create a 3D from that. And then once you're happy with what your 3D looks like, it's quite easy just to export out and send to the printer. We've got a move tool, a rotate tool, a scale tool, and then like a tape measure with a bunch of dimensions. I just want to give a quick overview, but like once you start working with it, it's a lot easier to understand like how to use these and what these tools actually do. These all relate to viewing tools, so how far you zoom in and whatnot. And then some more move tools. So we'll keep it super simple. What we're going to do is we're just going to start with drawing a rectangle. There's two ways to do this. Is you can use the pencil tool tool to draw straight lines, and you can see on the bottom right-hand side, it shows the length of the line that you're drawing. So obviously we want to keep it quite small, so you can just zoom in with your middle mouse. And let's say we're going to make it 40 millimeters. You just type the number in and press enter. And say about 25, again, just typing the number. Also, how Sketchup works, sorry, there's an origin point where all of these lines intersect. It's very much like the 3D printer. So you've got a red, a green, and a blue being up, down, green being, I don't know, I guess away from you, and red being left and right. When you draw, you'll see your pencil does snap to these colors. So when it snaps blue, it's drawing up. When it snaps to the red, it's drawing on that plane. And when it goes green, you'll see it's snapping to these planes. It is quite important to remember where to draw these, because once these connections are made, your model will turn to like a 2D surface. So it'll go blue on the one side and white on the other. So using SketchUp as well, it is a good idea to use a mouse. It's very tricky to do on a mouse pad because you rely on the middle mouse quite a bit. So yeah, we're gonna keep it simple. We've got a rectangle so far, and what we're gonna do is just add, let's say, a circle to it. It's all still 2D, so it's nothing too daunting. What SketchUp also does is when you click on the circle at the bottom, it shows how many sides that circle is made up of. So it feels like this is all over the place at once because there's a lot to take in, but it is easy when you start drawing. It gets easier, and we will recap in week 2 and week 3 as we go along. So selecting the circle tool, you can define how many sides you want it to have. I mean, default, it does work quite well. And then when you click for the first time, the second click asks you how big you want the circle to be, and it's looking at the radius. So we're going to just say, let's use 5 as a radius. And now we've got basically these two lines overlap. You can delete them out because we're still drawing in 2D at this point, or you could just delete out the middle line, and that's using the eraser tool. Yeah, let's think about how to do this easily. So if we move on to the push-pull tool, this will give your object depth, basically. SketchUp sees these blue faces as back faces, so they are deemed invisible when you do bring them into FlashForge. You can click on them and reverse them because you should only be seeing a white face when drawing, like that. And yeah, so let me go back a bit. You can reverse the faces right in the beginning too. And let's give this some depth. So we can say this tag is going to be 3 millimeters in height. And we want a circle inside this one. And you can push through the models or the objects that you've drawn as well. And that will give you a hole. Okay. Sometimes what SketchUp does is it doesn't know which face to actually select. So you just do need to just close it. And again, you can just select it and press delete. And now we've got something very basic. You can delete out the lines that you don't need. And you can even go and round off some of, you can go round off some of the corners if you want. But this is a great starting point. So just don't be too intimidated now, please. And let's say we just wanted to do something like that, right? So we've got a base for the tag. SketchUp does have a really cool feature called 3D text. It is hidden in the little circle at the bottom. And you can type whatever you like, along with, there isn't many font options because it is still the free version. When typing in what you need, it's going to ask you for two things, a height and a text extrusion. So the height is the height of the text from the top of the letter to the bottom. So obviously we can't make this too big. So let's say 30. And the extrusion is how far out it needs to pull it. So we'll just make it really low for now. And it will give you a tag, something like that. If you find that like your tag isn't big enough, you can select certain parts of it and you can just move them to make them bigger. You can also scale your own text down. There's a scale tool down here somewhere. And that allows you to just pick on one of the corners and just pull it in. When moving something, you can click on any of the corners. And again, it snaps to the planes that you want to move it on. So it'll snap to like a blue plane if it's moving up or down. If you hold shift, it will lock these planes into like the right place. And you can align them to your base tag. Sorry?
That's it.
No, I know I made it seem really quick, but what there's also, what you need to remember with a 3D print is your printer sees things called manifold solids. And right now we've got two planes that basically overlap each other. So if I hide the bottom plane, you'll see the bottom text of my name intersects or sits on top of that plane. So what you would need to do in an instance like this is if you double click to edit this, because text comes in as an object or a component, you need to actually go and delete the bottom plane. So once all of that's hidden out or deleted out, you can move it back in place. And then you can see the planes at the bottom don't overlap each other anymore, and you can intersect the two faces that you've put together. So if you select everything and you select intersecting faces, you should get a plane at the bottom now that you can now delete out as well. And what you've created now, let's unhide everything. For something like this, we might have to go and close up again. And you should end up with a plane that's, or a model that's all white. Okay, that one's battling to close. I'm using the middle mouse to orbit around my model. Still the bottom thing. Yeah. Once you're done, you should have something that looks like that. All the planes, all the faces are white. And if you do hide a bottom plane or a face, you see that no faces overlap each other. This is the easiest way to get a print with no problems. As soon as faces start overlapping, the printer or the FlashForge or Flash Print doesn't know how to read or interpret those faces, and then it starts adding additional layers of plastic, or it tries to repair it and it doesn't repair it correctly. I will go over like how to do this again, because I do feel like it was quite fast, and there are tools all over the place, but that's like super simple, as easy as it gets.
I think that Carl, this is really cool, and it was really quick, and it was even quick for me. I'm sure that for a lot of people who are getting into 3D modeling, no, and it's absolutely understandable that they go like, okay, so this isn't that easy. But I think that what's important is, and I experience it a lot of times, is that to be curious a little bit, allow yourself to be a little bit curious and play essentially a little bit with each and every single one elements that you were showing us, and where you can find it. And so I think that a lot of times this is about, and 3D printing is about, and modeling in general, 3D printing in general is about, open your mind and think
Yeah.
about things slightly differently. And, you know, if things don't work out, try again, because, you know, it's also part of the journey. But I really enjoy the fact that it's actually that quick, you know, that a name tag, once you really get a hang of it, and it's about like you're really using it a few times to understand, okay. But just the bottom part, you know, just how easy it is to actually measure something, put it there, and like almost like so much easier than using Tinkercad, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. So like the thing about SketchUp is they really want it to be super simple. It's for them, it's about very basic shapes. So if you just start with drawing a square or a rectangle and you extrude it up, it's just about understanding like where the planes are. So like I did teach my dad how to use SketchUp and gave him like a very basic rundown, and now I can't get him away from the PC. So like you say, it is about perseverance and sitting down to actually experiment. And like now he's calling me and giving me tips as to like the plugins he's found or how easy it is to do certain things. So yeah, like you say, it's just something that you need to sit down and play with. And the fact that it's online means you can do it anywhere, which makes it so much easier.
That is really brilliant. I just think that before we kind of go, if we can just kind of one more time, you know, kind of get a little bit more information around that. So if you don't mind, maybe just kind of from the bottom up to do it, you know, maybe do a different one. If anybody has a suggestion for something specific, you know, let us know. Or unmute yourself. Maybe now is a good time to ask a question before we start doing something like that. Is there something specific that you're looking for that could be actually now that Cal can demonstrate it? I'm just going to look. Nobody wants to say a word, so that's fantastic. Over to you, Cal.
Okay, I'll run through how I did it again. I'll delete everything. So when I select things in SketchUp, there are multiple ways to select things. The first click will select the face, which you can keep the face out but leaves the lines. If you double click, it will select the face and all the outlines, which you can then go ahead and delete as well if you want. And if you triple click, it will select everything that is connected to itself in the model. So just, yeah, handy things you learn while using the software. Okay, I'll do it again. I'll try and go really slow and then I just talk through the keys that I'm using. So we'll start with the rectangle tool. What's really cool with SketchUp as well, if you slowly move up, you'll see it will snap to a golden section or a square so that you know it is a perfect square. So the golden section obviously implies that it's pleasing to the eye and the proportions just work straight out the box. It does give you the dimension on the bottom right-hand corner over there as to how big it is going to be. So we'll take it to, let's say, 60 by 38 or whatever it ends up being. And yeah, that's first click. Second click is at the end. Then you can use the push-pull tool. The shortcut for that is P, just something easy to remember. And you click on your face once. Second click is to how tall you want it. So I haven't let go of the mouse button yet. I just clicked it once. And then you can type in your distance or just click wherever you want. So we'll say 3. We can use the offset tool if you want to offset it. I'm trying to remember where it is. The shortcut for offset is F. So you can offset faces on top. So let's say we just click on the top face. First click, second click, let's say we give it 3 mils. And then what this allows us to do is extrude with the push-pull tool again, the end piece. So we can bring that up another 3 mils if we wanted to. And then we can go and add 3D text again. So, I mean, let's say you haven't made house keys or front door keys, like we haven't, and Petra hasn't. So this will remember the last set of settings. I usually just use the last set and then scale it down to suit my needs. Scale it down. So the shortcut for scale is S. It is hidden under one of those menus. And then you scale it on the corners, because if you scale it from any of the other blocks, that's when you start getting really weird dimensions and proportions. And then you can use the move tool to move it to wherever you need it. So like I said, text comes in as a component or a group. You can explode this. And then you can push and pull these faces as well to say match the height of the outline. So again, blue faces are seen as invisible on the 3D printer, but that just might be the face below. So we need to go close any holes. So we use the pencil tool for that. Okay, so the holes are closed. If we wanted to add, say, a ring holder here. So if you draw over an existing line, that like we just did now, it will create a new face. You can just go and delete that out. And these 2D planes, you can also just push and pull into place on where you want them, and then you can delete out the lines that you don't need. Sketchup does snap to center points because it does remember where they are if you wanted to cut out a hole. And there it is. We can also, which is quite cool, is take this using the move tool. If you wanted to copy something, you click on it first time when it starts moving and you press Control, it will make a whole new copy. And we can go, instead of pulling this out, we can go and push the face right through and make it a hole.
That's cool. And Carl, can I now ask you a question? I think that from a point of view of where we can, for example, go to websites, like I'm just looking as well some of the chat questions here. So if we, for example, go into Thingiverse or, you know, my manufacturing somewhere and grab a design from there, an existing design, and we just want to overlay our name on it, can we import that design and then kind of amend it in using this specific software, for example, using Sketchup?
Yeah, we can do that. What's great with Sketchup as well is they've got this thing called the 3D warehouse built in to their software. So if you just click on the little warehouse over here, you can search for pretty much any model here. So let's just go name tags. And there are thousands of models, and these are all free. There's no price attached to these. Yeah, and you could just, let's say, let's say you find something that you really like. There's Michael over there.
I can, for example, go to, just to start with, I'm just thinking like if, you know, somebody is just starting and then they want to do the name tag, but they, I could just, for example, see that there is already a name tag there. So I can use that one and just rewrite the name.
Yeah, you could do that. So let's say,
starting.
So if we take this round one, it will download and will ask you where do you want to place it. So you just place it in, and you can. The thing is with SketchUp's text is it sees text as a model, not as a letter or a font, basically. So you would have to go and delete out the name that you didn't want,
right?
And then you can just 3D text your own one in. Yeah, you can also. Sorry.
The same way as you had it, as you showed us.
Yeah, exactly. So you can just search in the 3D warehouse that is attached to SketchUp, and you can go modify those. If you wanted to use something specific from Thingiverse, you can actually download it, and then in SketchUp, once you have an STL, you can hit Insert, and then you can just select from your PC, it will bring it in. So yeah, brilliant. Something like that is possible.
So that's a great gift to start with, you know, if you're, for example, importing, let's say, you know, a vase or something like that, and then, you know, you want to put in there the name of the person, I love you, I'm thinking of you. That's a really cool way how to start, right?
Yeah. Well, what's great with these is sometimes you might find that you don't need a key tag. You might just want to like label your drawers in like your garage, for example, and you can just go and punch a whole bunch of holes in the corner for like a nail or a screw to fit through. Then it's not necessarily a keychain. Now it's actually something you can stick onto a drawer. So for labeling all sorts of things, screws, drill bits, spanners. So it is like, I feel like the name tag is a very easy place to start, and it has so many uses. Or you can just punch all the holes in the corners for, you can sew the name tags to kids' sports bags.
Oh yeah, kids sports bags and kids stuff in general. Just actually
Yeah.
even put it on their neck. That
And then what's great is you can pause the print at a certain height so that the first half of it is whatever color you want, and you can switch colors halfway, and then you end up with a multi-print or multi-color print.
That's really cool. But I think that's really the beauty about the personalization in general, that you can start with something like that as a easy way to get people into it. And maybe that's the thing, just for them to start, is actually importing an existing model and just putting names just to start with, and then starting to design their own pieces and punching holes through it. And because I think that what's amazing about these things is that there's this IKEA effect, right? Is that when you make your own bed, you somehow sleep better in it, even if it's a really bad bed. But that's exactly it. And I think that that's where we all get a huge kick out of, yes, I did it. It's mine, my creation. And as small as a thing as putting a name there, it's already giving people a huge achievement of, this is mine, or I'm giving it to someone. And it's not just, I downloaded it from Thingiverse, I printed it, and I gave somebody a gift,
Yeah.
It's like I printed it, I thought about the person, I thought about a message, or, just like that. I think that's a really cool start.
Yeah, I think so.
That's brilliant. Can I maybe ask if you can, if anyone else has any other specific questions around this, maybe if you can like unmute yourself. Sometimes it's just a little bit easier than typing or me trying to convey messages. If you have more complex questions, Carl is also ready. If you're not one of those starters, then please also just ask even more complex questions that is related to maybe printing materials, printers in general. What is if you're struggling with something at the moment and you're already using 3D printers, please ask away as well. Don't just keep it to 3D modeling.
Hi, maybe I can just quickly ask something that we've struggled with. Is removing prints from the small plate. Is there any advice to removing stuff without actually scratching and damaging the plate?
Yeah, that's one of those. I think the best is finding the right glue to begin with, and make sure your first layer height it goes down properly. If it squishes too much, you find you're going to battle to get it off. But also, if you have the right glue, when it's hot, it will be sticky, and when it's cold, it will release automatically. So I don't have it here, it's actually inside. The FlashForge came with the green glue stick. It's like a Pritt. That glue stick is probably the best one I've used so far. And then I know Petra's given me glue from the Filament Factory. He's got like this white special glue that you apply. It's got a hectic acetone smell, but prints pop off super easy.
So you apply the glue before you start with the print?
Yeah. So you try and get an even coat across the bed. So like what I did was I took that glue and I put it in a spray bottle and then sprayed that on. And then, like I say, I haven't had any layer adhesion issues at all. So you just got to wait for it to cool down and then it pops right off. Good. Sometimes don't try and get the scraper in underneath either. Sometimes maybe just give the print a tap if it's not too fragile. That impact will knock it off as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool.
And maybe I think that you mentioned that you're using the Adventure 3. What's working for me there, it's really preheating the plate and really kind of preheating it, leaving it for a few minutes, and then applying the glue. Specifically with the Adventure 3, it's that preheating, and then and then kind of so it pops off better. I did have sometimes experience that some people said with the Adventure 3, hasn't happened to me yet, but they that part of the plate came off as well. And I think that Kyle, now you even printing on glass on the Adventure.
Straight on glass.
and that pops up just beautifully.
Yeah, instantly. You can try like a straight, if you get a mirror even, but I don't think you get a mirror that thin. Straight glass, if you get it super clean, like with alcohol, you don't need to apply anything to it, but you might find that your prints don't actually stick as well as you hope. So it's that Flashforge glue stick was the best, and then that white glue from Filament Factory.
We have it online as well. So if you actually go to mytoys.com, I'm just going to a little bit to promotion, but yeah. So if you're needing anything around really good glues or different type of filaments, also just pop out on our website mytoys.com. You'll find a nice shop, and we stock the glue, and we stock without needing to go and buy bulk.
Great, thank you.
Pleasure. Anyone else?
Hey Petra, my boys have been listening in. They have been very, very cute. They've been doing a lot of bits and pieces. We've been printing a lot of Thingiverse and everything, and I think it's very exciting for them. And they just had one or two questions. Ash, do you want to start?
Yeah. I want to know how you which keys you use on SketchUp.
So in other words, like, you know, if you kind of like using Photoshop or something and you want to know what the tool is, if you scroll over it, does it give you the name of what that tool actually does?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So that's how we'll learn what tools are used for what.
Exactly that. So if you hover over the tools, you'll see it will tell you that it's an eraser or a paint bucket or a pencil or like a line. And the sub-menus are all labeled as well.
Okay, great. Tristy?
So can you take something from Thingiverse and upgrade it?
Yeah, of course. Let me do that now quickly.
What would you like to get upgraded? Test card. What would you like? Anything that comes to mind? I made a mistake. I asked a 60-year-old, a 70-year-old a question that I shouldn't have asked. Like, now we will be here for another 2 or 3 hours.
A dragon, please.
Oh, wow. Okay. So like not an easy upgrade either. Hey?
Straight into the complex. Just like
okay.
the most complex thing I can think of.
Maybe like a little simple,
That looks
like that one.
Cute.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a very simple one, and then we'll put it on a base and we'll put a name on it. Something like that, so that you can make them all for your friends too.
Okay.
Okay, I think it's importing.
Thinking. There we
Yep,
go.
there we go. Okay, it looks like this one came with supports pre-applied.
These look like exactly from Flashprint.
Yeah. The problem with this is trying to delete out these supports. Yeah, it's going to be quite tricky. I wonder if there isn't a dragon that doesn't have those supports built in.
So for instance, if we had to pull in like a simpler dragon, we could probably do things like make the wings bigger or smaller or that sort of thing. If we brought in something a little bit simpler to start off with.
Yeah, exactly that. You would just use the scale tool, and then you would scale just the proportions that you would want bigger. So if you selected just the wings, for example, and you scaled it, you could just pull them out to kind of where you wanted them to end.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to do it.
So my question is, for taking off supports, what do you suggest works the best?
Ooh, So if your supports are set up really good, they'll break away really easily. So I know there are some advanced settings in FlashPrint for actually defining the distance where you want the support to stop before it starts touching your model. If you lower that or increase that number a bit, so you make the support distance between the top of the support and the bottom of the print, you can make it like 0.2, it will break away a little bit easier.
So we tried 3D printing a spider
Phone holder.
So I printed and then these. You literally have to like the bottom piece. I literally thought, okay, now where are my pliers? And also for the bottoms here, for the spider thing, for the feet, it broke straight off. Like just yeah, it just broke straight off. So also here, I literally have to just like that and to get just one support off. Yeah, no, it is quite a lot of work. What you need to do is you need to play with your support settings in FlashPrint. So if you do get those perfect, you'll find those supports will break away. This is not even like the first attempt. This is like second attempt. Okay. Anyway, for like the first attempt, we did even have troubles just gluing it down. Because I didn't know what the area base was. It was something like about that. And the one foot just came loose. So do you have any advice for sticking it down? How to like... To glue the foot back to the part that broke? No, but like, no, so if you, no, not that, because the foot just started growing. So anyway, so if you would, so if you were to, on our first model, it stopped at about there because we realized that the foot was just shaking on the entire thing. Yeah. How would you glue it down better? Like, no, so it's not gluing the foot back onto the print, but to glue, so how would you... You want it to stick to the base better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So in... Sorry, Petra?
No, go ahead. The brim.
Yeah. I was going to say, so FlashPrint does have a setting called brim. So it's the adhesion type to the bed. Actually, let me see if I can share my screen here. Okay, so you should be able to see FlashPrint now. When you hit print, if you want a better adhesion to the bed, you can enable a brim. So if you hit yes on the brim, you can define how many layers you want or how big you want the margin to be. So if I just hit 5 for now, and you preview the print, you'll see it'll add all of these layers to the bottom. Also very tricky to see this now. So basically what it does is it just adds a whole bunch of additional outlines to the parts that need to stick to the bed. That way those like little fine feet that break off, those will stick on a lot better. And another trouble that we had was getting those off. That's the reason our legs just snapped off. Was the brim was too close?
Yeah.
Yeah, we literally, I'm trying to break it off now.
So look, watch. So what you then do is you just make that brim a little bit smaller in millimeters.
No, I think it's, let's see what this does. Turn it off now. Yeah. Yeah, I think the margin's actually just making it a lot bigger. I don't think FlashPrint's added a setting to define how far you want the brim to start just yet.
I think that would you have to have it. That would be another lesson in Cura slicing.
Yeah.
Or you put it into FlashPrint. But I'm just wondering as well, maybe there is just to go about it, what helped me sometimes is just to make the supports thinner. so that they actually break off easily. So, you know, instead of, because then when you're actually breaking them off so that they wouldn't break off with the leg. So if you, for example, use the, let's say the tree-like support, you can make the diameter where is it attaching, the diameter of the support you can make thinner, and then it makes it like very thin supports. That would be another way how to go about it.
Yeah.
Oh, but very exciting, guys. Geez, that's these are some good questions there we had from very youngsters that I would be battling to answer. Well done. Keep
Thanks,
on printing. Can't wait to see your creations. And guys, don't forget to enter the competition, right? You know about it. Did your mom tell you about a 3D design competition?
I'll show them on the website.
Awesome.
Okay,
So
cool. Guys.
it's really cool. We have a competition running for all the kids. I think that Michael, even for you, that would be relevant for your school and etc. It's free to enter. It's really lots of fun. There are great prizes to be won, including amazing Lego sets and Geno building sets and coding games and etc. So just you know, give it a try. These are it's an opportunity to just get started. We're not looking for you know, designs that are coming from a 3D modeling school or school of design. We're really looking for very straight and almost like it's about the thinking process that you've been through it. It's not necessarily how beautiful your design is at the end of the day. It's about just how you applied your mind to try to solve that problem using 3D modeling or 3D design. You can use Sketchup. You can also use Tinkercad if you prefer, or you can just use pencil and a paper.
Or Hero Forge.
I'm sorry?
Or Hero Forge. I don't know. I think I've shared my screen again. I don't know if you can see it. You see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is also great, like for the younglings that maybe like modeling something like this would be a little bit too advanced, but this allows them to have something pre-modeled that they can go and customize as they wish, which is, I think, very cool for developing the hero, especially because like there's a whole bunch of poses built in. So you can really go customize everything on this.
Petra, it's Karen here. My daughter Alex wanted to ask a question, if that's okay.
How's it
I
going?
have an idea for a 3D modeling project I'd like to try, but in order to do that, is it possible to do 3D curves? But I mean, is it just like layers and layers, but slowly increasing the size and adjusting the depth?
There is a way to do a curve. So I'm just going to use something very simple. You can draw a line as a path on the ground and give it a very basic curve. And what you can do is you can use a plane or a face, something like that, and then you can select the curve, and there is a follow me tool built in over here. So if you select the lines and use the follow me, it will actually create a curve automatically. So it's almost thinking about it in 2D first before applying it to 3D. There is an instructor on the top right-hand side here that when you click on the tool, gives you a little like rundown of exactly what it does. Hope that helps.
Did that answer your question, or not so much? Or yes?
I'm looking for something different, like a wave sort of curve. So a base and then it going straight upwards and then eventually going down. Because I'm thinking of doing something similar to that.
Yeah, it's a tricky one to try and understand without like an image but yeah, if you think about the object you're trying to make as a 2D first, so like just a plain face, and then think about the path that you want it to follow, you can always use like the freehand tool to try and get it to follow a very specific curve that you want. But yeah, it's quite a tricky thing to try and understand.
Thank you. That's actually what I was looking for.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. That's really cool.
I hope that helps.
Kyle, what do you they have in store? You showed us something at the beginning, that hook thing, something that you had, that white and red stuff. I didn't actually catch it. What was that?
One of these.
Oh,
so
yeah.
this is it's a modular phone holder because I don't have a laptop, so I needed to think about a way to use my phone as my mic and cam basically, and I found this, which is great. Basically all the pieces snap together and you can define how long you actually want your thing to be. So right now I've just got the headphone mount on top, but this does change for a phone holder or a camera holder or a microphone holder. So yeah, very, very clever little modular design.
And that's obviously you just did that. It looks like a couple of actually blocks put together, quite straightforward.
Yeah, I found this on Thingiverse and then just kind of modded it to what I needed.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah, again, that's pretty much what I use 3D printing for. It's finding things that are 99% done and then tweaking them for my needs.
Very cool. And what else would you recommend, like around the house, that is some practical stuff that you discovered lately?
Ooh, I haven't really been doing like practical stuff around the house, to be honest. I did like my boss, I know I showed you this guy. So I did that on Hero Forge. So very simple, like just a guy holding a pen and a phone. I've been getting into trying to paint like little figurines lately. So I did a Deadpool, which came out, I think, quite nice. Super detailed as well.
What paint do you use?
So you can go to any hobby store. They've got an enamel paint. At the moment, I'm using Humbrol, I think it is, but Tamiya is for model painting. That also works very well. You can also use acrylic because the enamels are a bit painful to have to clean up every time. But yeah, enamel or acrylic paint works fantastically.
Very cool. That's brilliant. Well, thanks so much. I think that we're kind of coming to the end. I just would like to just ask anyone else if you have some specific question. And type it. I think that anybody would like to unmute themselves.
I was going to say, we'll create a folder that I'll share with you, and then we could just have all the resources in there. So like the link to Sketchup. I will save some of the Sketchup files that are like the name tags. So if anyone wants to just open those and play with those, they can. Yeah, I'll just try to put together something that's useful. I know I found an image with a shortcut to all the Sketchup keys too, which will help. So
brilliant.
Yeah, people just need to go play.
I really enjoy that. By the way, we have Kyle was behind some of the designs that most of the designs that we've done on our Toyz learning app, education app. This week we have released this cute little dinosaur world. So for all of you who would like to get some more fun stuff around the dinosaurs, you can go into our app. We have some cool stencils, maps, and etc. Trilobites to print, and a few others. So you can absolutely go to the app. It's on Android or iOS. For those of you interested, can be downloaded from our website, whitetoys.com, or anything else that you need. And we will be definitely sending out the recordings as well. Anyone else? Last time to ask questions?
See, there's a question is, why do we need the glue? Is it a primer? So no, the glue is not a primer. It's an adhesion aid. It basically just ensures your first layer sticks to the bed properly.
Sorry, can I ask a question about the competition?
Yeah, very soft, but go for it.
Sorry, is this better?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, thanks. So Mark was just away from Mark. So does it have to be 3D printable, or does it just have to be designed in, say, like a CAD program?
Does what need to be 3D printable?
The
model you
design.
wanna- No, it doesn't necessarily have to be 3D printable. Like I started out using Sketchup for architecture, so you can literally design anything with Sketchup. I know they're pushing Sketchup a lot for like the woodworking guys too. So yeah, you literally design anything. The scale is infinite.
Okay, thanks. And is it fine if I do it in Fusion 360 and just like save as a SketchUp file?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. I think that with that, I can just leave it at that. Thank you so much. If you want to unmute yourself and give a shout out to Kyle, you have a chance to do it now. Thanks again to joining us. Kyle, you're a legend as always. We love working with you. And
Thank you.
Super creative.
For answering my question.
Thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. It was awesome.
Great. I'm glad.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Only a pleasure.
And if you want, let us also know. We would like to have some sessions going forward. So if you have any specific topic that you would like to have for next week, Thursday, so that we can have another session, maybe for those who want to continue with more in-depth training in this, also give us a shout. Okay, we would like to know your feedback, whether this is valuable and whether we should continue with it. It's essentially up to you as well. Okay, this is our first, but I had lots of fun and I definitely want to continue, but now it's up to you if you want us to continue.
Yeah, I would really encourage people to go and try. Like the name tag is super simple. Start with something like that. I'll only know how to help you if you run into problems. So it's very difficult Googling a problem if you don't know what the problem is. So go play.
See, that's fine. Go and play, guys. See you next time. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.